everybody. How is everyone tonight? Hope everybody's having a wonderful evening. Welcome to another edition of the Paranormal Guys with Bobby Dizzle in the house. We might keep you around for a while. I don't know. We may make you the new number 2. I don't know. Brenda, before anybody asks, is doing some personal things and took the night off. And she said she was tired of me, so she was going to take a break. So
all I know is when I'm on this podcast, you get tens of views.
So, tens. I'm, views, so, I'm glad to have those tens.
I'm a ratings monster.
Yeah, you are a monster. I was on Jessica, the Cryptic Huntress, earlier today and had a great show with her talking about skinwalkers and Dogman and Bigfoot up in Tennessee. So that was kind of interesting. So hopefully we'll pull some people over from there. If so, welcome for the first time. The Paranormal Guys is on every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. First hour, we always have our guest, and tonight we have a very special guest. Kara Phillip is with, I had it pulled up here. She's a paranormal investigator and a talent coordinator, and she's been seen on the Travel Channel at the Ghost Hunters. She's going to tell us all kinds of spooky stories and scare me. She probably won't scare Bobby, but she'll scare me. So everybody, let's welcome Miss Kara. Hi. Hello. How are you?
I'm good.
Welcome to the show. So I've been looking forward to this show for a long time because I was telling you in the pre-show, I grew up in a haunted house and everything before used to be just evil. And then when I got into the Bigfoot world, everybody kind of drugged me into the paranormal world. And they were like, oh, it's not all bad. And I'm like, convince me. So I'm still learning, but it's always nice to speak with people that have a lot more experience than I do with things that go bump in the night that aren't necessarily tall and furry. So what, tell us about yourself.
Well, I was going to say those, somehow like that cryptid world and paranormal world really goes hand in hand, and we all end up spending a lot of time together, but we don't always talk about the same stuff at each other, as we're so excited. I grew up in a haunted house, but mine, there was never anything negative about it. My earliest ghost experience was long before I could even remember. My mom told me about it. I would talk to somebody. She would hear talking. She would walk up the stairs, walk past my bedroom, would hear talking back and forth, me babbling and somebody talking back. And of course, years later, I would say, are you kidding me that you didn't go in my room, that you didn't do anything? And she goes, I just never thought it was bad. Nothing negative. Okay. I think, I don't know what I would have done if it was my kids, but she thought it was
best case, your daughter was a schizo.
Yeah, I mean, she was hearing this ghost too, right? And she was hearing me talk. I was probably, 2-3 years old when we moved in. So I was pretty little when this was happening. And this was long before we had TVs in every room and everything. This was a long time ago. One time we were talking about it and she goes, I remember now that we're talking about it, she used to hear outside of her bedroom, when the windows were open, she would hear people in the empty lot next to us, like a bunch of guys, sitting around drinking beer, smoking, around a fire. She would hear them talking and there would be nobody there. So that kind of points out it's maybe a little familial. It's normal in my family if we get together at a holiday to say, oh, did you see that? Did you hear something? Come on, that house was haunted, right? And everybody goes, well, yeah, it was. We all just kind of take it for granted that we see or hear things in different houses growing up or the houses we live in now. And it never was a big deal. So I grew up in the Chicago area. I grew up spooky, like we all kind of do. It's really normal to, it's sleepovers, it's Ouija boards, light as a feather, stiff as a board, just all of these fun things, talking about Bloody Mary. And you just don't think about being spooky, right? It's just normal stuff. And I learned later when I lived in West Michigan that's not typical of everywhere. That's, but if you talk to people from New Orleans, they go, yeah, that's normal. So, just those connections to just kind of, and I call it just being spooky, growing up spooky. So when I was about 12-ish is how I remember it. And I could probably, kind of Google to corroborate some of this. the woman left. She was actually, her name was Mrs. Bauer. She owned the house before us. Her husband built the house. They lived in the house. They had one daughter, and she died. I don't know if she died in the house or in the hospital, but after she died, the daughter that never got married and Mr. Bauer moved to Arizona. They left the house at that point. And so I think she just stuck around. I'm an only child, and I think she said, "Oh, cool. You're in my daughter's bedroom." And just kind of stuck around. And I just always knew she was there. It was always just a really normal thing, and there was nothing scary about it. So when I was about 12, I don't know if it means Mr. Bauer died or if she decided that I was old enough or something going on. I saw her, like an apparition walk out of the wall, stand behind me. I could feel her, on my shoulders with her hands, and she stood there for what felt like an eternity, but it was probably about 2 seconds. And we walked out the door, and it felt like she was saying, "Bye, this is it. I'm leaving." I could just feel that that's what she was saying, and never anything in the house again. So,
Wow.
and I went and told my mom, like, it was a normal thing. Like, somebody just called me on the phone. I said, "Oh, so she left." That's okay.
Have you ever went back and looked like the obituaries for the?
No, I have to do that. Like, it was just so pre-internet that this was all happening.
Okay, so we're talking about a long time ago then.
This
the 90s.
was, so it was. I did have a computer. I was sitting at my giant desktop computer, but I don't know what that computer was doing. Honestly, certainly wasn't anything internet-ish. So I always say, like, as I think of the story now, I got to go back and I got to try to figure some of this stuff out, because that would, and I really
want to write that down.
And I just kind of forget.
I'm going to
until I
remind
tell
you.
the story again. So just message me later. Look that up.
I mean, I have to know.
Like,
this is my paranormal wheelhouse.
This is OCD.
Yeah.
So
this is where I live.
I grew up going to, Bachelor's Grove is nearby. So you hear about that on, all the TV shows and it's one of the most haunted places. I don't think I ever thought that growing up, because again, it wasn't so normal. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have all these TV shows like we do now. It was just this local thing that we went to. And it was fun. When you're a teenager, you run into something you're not supposed to be at night. How exciting, and police patrol there, even better. This is an adventure. Sometimes you're hiding from them. Okay. So of course you go and you take pictures and you have a great time. I actually have some pictures that I think we realize now that we all get to talk about it and connect. We all have. It's all the same lens flare. It's all, so did I get any pictures of ghosts? Probably not. But we remembered it that way until we found the pictures again. And then we said, oh, we probably didn't. Because that was long before digital cameras. That was, you took those pictures to get developed, how long after the fact, and then you all sit together and get all excited and say, oh, look at that. So we did that. That was normal. And I really, during the day, I think is when I had, maybe we would go sometimes during the day. I had some experiences that I definitely felt like I was connected, to spirit, but never really at night. At night was probably just the fun of being in the woods at night with all your friends and running around. But that was normal stuff. It was normal. We grew up with Resurrection Mary of Resurrection Cemetery. That's I think every area has a story like that. She gets into cars and disappears, so this is all normal stuff. So I eventually moved to West Michigan to go to school and stayed there for a while, and people are not spooky there. It's pretty lame. So I really it's wild. So in the Chicago area, we have fences around our cemeteries. They are locked. Gates close, and you cannot be in there past a certain point. I went to West Michigan, so I've never seen an unfenced. Before then, I had never seen an unfenced cemetery, because of course kids wanted to go drink and smoke and chase ghosts and do bad things in a cemetery. That's what you do. So I get up to West Michigan and there's no fences, and I say to people, "Why? What's going on?" And they go, "Why would anybody do that? Why would you go into the cemetery at night?" And I'm like, "Why would you not?" And so life just kind of took over, and kids and house, and I kind of got away from the paranormal world, and not deliberately, just it was always just it was a normal thing. It wasn't something I actively engaged in. It was just normal. And so then I moved eventually back to the Chicago area, thank goodness. And I worked, kind of didn't think that much about ghosts. I moved back into the house I grew up in, and there was no ghost there because she already left. So I didn't think anything of it. I worked at an assisted living, like nursing home. I was getting into healthcare. And that was, I think, the place that I've been most scared of ghosts, most scared of like a haunting, or something there, a presence. And so that has its own stories I can tell. But then I eventually left there, got a way better job where it wasn't scary and they paid a lot better. So I left there gladly and became a nurse. And after that, I never, until recently, saw anything again. And I think because I went to critical care and I'm right there, when people there is a lot of death, there is a lot of right at the edge, and I think I kind of turned that off then. I just wasn't going to see it. And I talking to other nurses that are a little connected to the paranormal world or very connected, they say the same thing, that once they became a nurse, they just didn't anymore. I think we turn it off because I don't need to be taking care of a person plus seeing something else going on. That's not what you need in my life.
That's a big distraction.
Yeah, well, I'm a paramedic.
So I'm here for the living right now.
I worked with a guy after a traumatic head injury. He could see dead people.
Oh.
And he, as a paramedic before, he had never had this experience. And we would go on calls together. I'm telling you the truth. After a traumatic head injury, he could see dead people. And we would get on scene. And this is before I really got to know him that well. He'd be like, "We're too late." I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about? We just got here." He's like, no. They're standing over there in the corner looking. And he goes, "I got to go tell them they're dead." And I'm like, "What? Wait a minute. We got to tell the family first."
I love
Why isn't that guy been...
That is
he's ex-military, and because of his clearances and some of his other stories, he won't come on the air. I've tried multiple times, and he had to finally go to training. It got so bad because nobody wanted to work with him. I didn't mind working with him because I understood, but we pull up on car wrecks and he'd be like, "Oh, there they went." And I'm like, "What?" Like, what are you talking about?
Love that so much. And now that kind of makes me want to see things at work. But no, I just kind of, shut it off. Right. So eventually I started volunteering at a notoriously haunted historic location nearby. And Glenn, are you wearing pants?
I'm wearing pants. That's my co-host messing with my other co-host messing with her.
And I would go to this place and people would have experiences, supernatural experiences, paranormal experiences. And I would be so jealous, right? I'd say, "Come on, why am I not? I grew up seeing things. I grew up, hearing and interacting. What is going on here?" And I would just say, "Well, I haven't in a long time." And, I would be pretty jealous and pretty, I think, kind of mad at every spirit there that they weren't showing up. Because I spent a lot of time there. We were cleaning up. We put in a lot of effort, and I was a little jealous. To be honest, though, I think I was, if I'm being totally honest, I was every now and again seeing or hearing something, but it wasn't big enough. It wasn't what I was looking for. I was looking for something to really, literally jump in front of me and really,
you wanted that holy grail, that full body.
Yeah, I really wanted it to be something. Admitting that I saw anything. Every now and again, I would say to one of my friends who's, she's a sensitive, I would say, "Did you see that?" Or, we would both kind of, and then I would be like, meh. It wasn't what I'm looking for. So I'm being like a snob about the ghost doing something for me, right? Now I'm like, not good enough. I'm not admitting this happened. So, probably a few things like that. There was one really scary story that I'm still pretty sure it was a human and not a ghost. I have no idea, but still wasn't admitting it. And then one day I was cleaning up. It's a prison is where I was volunteering, and I was cleaning up a cell, a famous cell. And I just kept feeling like somebody was watching me. And I couldn't shake the feeling. It felt, just like you want to throw up, leering, just really, it felt very bad. Oh, well, I hope they are. I read the comment out loud? But so
Yeah. JT was saying something weird happened to the video and that ghosts are messing with us. It wouldn't be the first time that something's messed with one of us.
No, it's a thing.
It's a so I really felt really uncomfortable. Something was leering, something was staring. I felt real bad about it. I didn't like it. Kept going what I was doing and then finally wrapped it up. So this building, it's a long building. It's 2 cell blocks. There's an administration building in the middle. We were in the east cell block, so one side of it, and across the administration building is the west cell block, the other one. For a long time, the west cell block was locked, and bars, iron, steel, bars were blocking it. So if you going back to cemeteries, they put that wrought iron around it to keep spirits in. They, say they can't cross it. So for a long time, they were locked since it closed. Nobody was going in there at all, and the bars were all closed. People would say, don't you see something down there? Even when the bars were closed, you'd look through the bars and people would, down the, gallery, and they would say, don't you see that? No, I don't. Like, I never did. I didn't doubt them. I believed they were seeing something, but they could see something. So finally, right around then is when, a week or two prior, we had opened the doors finally. Broke the locks, got it open so we can clean it and open it up for guests to come. And so now it was open, and now anything could pass in between. And I think it started to. So I was, just being leered at, really uncomfortable. Didn't like it. Eventually, time to go home. Let's go. Done for the day. We had a public paranormal tour that night. I was there. And now until then, I really hadn't had an experience I believed happened. So I was always happy to have my back to the darkness and keep the guests safe. No problem. I'll stand here. Nothing's behind me. It's fine. So I'm standing at the edge, and a couple of guests come up and go, do you hear that? Is there somebody down there? And I said, well, nobody living. And then I stopped and listened, and I heard like keys, loud like keys. And they said, like keys. Can you hear keys? Like somebody walking? And I was like, oh no, there's nobody there. Oh no. Oh, okay. But I was like, okay, whatever. There was like a little point of light, like somebody walking, like flashlight, not illuminating anything, but like you could see a point. And I was like, oh no, they saw that too. Right. So I, okay. And they said, could we walk down there? I said, sure. Okay. So we walked down there. Nothing happens. They have some cat balls. They have some other thing. Nothing happened while we're down there. But we did hear next to us, like we heard the keys, but we didn't see anything. So eventually they got kind of over it, went back to the group. Not long after, another group wanted to walk down there. They didn't see or hear anything. They just wanted to go down there. And I said, okay. This time I was not as excited, but I said, all right, let's go. And as we're walking, all of a sudden I could see the point of light. I can hear the keys again. And this time though, just out steps in front of me, just a big, tall, heavy, thick shadow, like a outline of a person. So I don't want to say an apparition because I couldn't make out details, but I heard the keys. Just boom, it was right there. And it was the same exact feeling as when I was being watched that morning, just that same, I just was nauseous. I felt like I almost threw up. I just ran in the other direction. Just ran, totally involuntary, left the guests down there in the dark. I was over it. I ran. The director of operations at the time laughed and she goes, good to see how you are in an emergency. I'm like, this is not a real emergency. This is just a ghost. This is a little different. So after that is then when I was pretty able, I think that was I probably all along was seeing and hearing things, but just couldn't let myself. And I think after that is when then I was like, all right, yep, I'm seeing and hearing things all the time. I still like a second person verification. God forbid it's just me that says it. I like when, my friend next to me is like, oh, do you see that? And I'm like, yep, I sure do. I love that. I'm obsessed with that. Because I think I don't trust my abilities yet. I hope that one day I do a little bit more, but I like when somebody else verifies it. So that was kind of the start of really it getting to be a pretty normal thing. And I think since then, just even outside of that space, I definitely am more open to, a lot of things. But I think too, the Warrens have a theory. They talk about just when you're in a space and your energy and how, you work with the, the spirits in a space, that means something, so I think, just the getting to know them. And I think they, by now, through a lot of, things that happen, they know who I am and I know sort of who they are, not by name or anything, but just kind of the energy that I think that opens me up to a lot of experiences there. So I hope to kind of develop that more everywhere else. Cause I think when you go to a new place, they have to get to know you and you're just another ghost hunter or investigator going, who are you? Is somebody here? And they just, I think, roll their eyes.
Can you turn on this flashlight?
Yeah, do
Exactly.
this, press this ball like this. And I think I just like imagine them just sitting there being like, no, I won't.
Or you just answered one of my questions. Every time I have anybody from like a paranormal group that does something like you talk about regularly, they always have like a home base. So I guess yours is the prison. I was going to ask you what your home base was, but you pretty much told us that.
They changed the volunteer program, so not anymore. So
what is it now?
For a new home. Of course, I found like another jail that I like to go to. I got my thing.
Is it in Illinois, close to where you live now?
It is.
I was in Lynchburg, just an hour north of where I am, where Jack Daniels was this weekend, and they have a haunted. I say haunted jail. I think everything's freaking haunted.
It's all
but
haunted.
they had the little jail tour. The concrete wall made of old school concrete or whatever.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, I'm gonna walk in here and like waste the rest of my day. So I'm gonna save it for another day because they had the tours, and I'm like walking around with my moon pies I just bought.
There's something about like an old jail or an old prison. Dude, I don't know what it is, but there is something about it for me.
In Huntsville, Tennessee, there's the Scotts County Jail. It's like a little castle, and they have an escape room. They have an escape room and a public paranormal investigation.
How fun!
I had one of the owners on here, and I'm like, my God, am I just making friends for life right now? Because that sounds amazing.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, but it's not like a prison. It's just a little.
They use half of it is actually the other half. It's across the street. It's the women's prison is actually leased by 13th Floor, like the haunt people, so they're all over the country.
Yeah.
And they have a haunt there. So they're working on having some more stuff year round or whatever. But yeah, it's funny because I go every year. It's close to my house. I love October and haunted houses and everything. And I go to it. And I've been there before it was a haunted house. I got to go in there and I was like, I think people would just enjoy walking around. You don't need to make it anything. You could just have people walk around. But yeah, no, I love it. I love a good jail or a good prison.
Yeah, a lot of not a nice trauma to all the residual hauntings just right there.
Yep, all that energy, yeah.
It just is so much energy. So that's even the last time I was there was with Dave Schrader and Shane Pittman. And and I hadn't been there in a couple months, and I walked into Death Row, and that's my favorite. Death Row is my favorite there.
Oh.
There's just something I always say, like I always ask people that have been there, where would you spend the night if you had to spend the night, and why? And for me, it's Death Row because it would be the safest. I would feel the best. I would feel like I could go to sleep, which is not what people would expect. But I just felt like I could see as I was walking up the stairs, kind of just like energy. And it felt like they were saying hi, like they were excited to see us. I could just feel it. And it was just kind of like, hi, like hugs. And they get to know you. I absolutely believe. And, a lot of us that spent a lot of time there have had doppelganger experiences that people have seen or heard us. We never get to see or hear ourselves, which is probably better because I bet we'd slip into some,
Yeah, you're not supposed to do that.
You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
But we, it's not, we've all had kind of that experience, seeing somebody sees or hears us. And so the place knows us, and on EVPs or, just SG sessions, it'll say our names, so we are, we're all obsessed with each other. Yeah. So me and a bunch of old prisoners no longer with us, have a whole thing. But so
that's interesting. Yeah.
The spirit that I saw now, he's a guard, 100% a guard. You can hear him sometimes walking with, big guard steps. They wear different kinds of shoes. And it's not, it became pretty normal to see him. I would see him like I always see like I don't want to say a shadow figure because that has a negative connotation, but like I don't see apparitions necessarily like somebody in white or, their clothes. It's always just like a shadow when I see something. And just, I could like see him sometimes leaning or just kind of watching, when there would be a tour, just watching and looking down. And every now and a guest would go, somebody's up there watching us looking, aren't they? Like pacing. And I go, yeah. And and so now so he liked me. I would, walk in and say hi, I would be like a friend in those galleries, but it's, at first it was terrifying. And
have you gotten the names on the EVPs or anything of them?
No, so they never do. We have names that we call some of them, and some names that we maybe think somebody is based on history. But no, they don't. And so we don't know if that's because maybe there's just so many of them. Countless people died there between. It opened just before 1860 and closed as an operating prison in 2002. So that's, wow. So like countless people, the TB epidemic, happened through the prison, all this stuff. So many people died there, and just, standard just incarceration deaths, a lot more than now, or I'd like to think, a lot more than now. But and eventually people become a number, they're not even knowing their name. They're not even thinking about their name. They become a number, unfortunately. So I think to get, I think how many people are we really interacting with when we interact? Is it a few, or is it really hundreds that we're dealing with on the regular, in any given night? So to get a name, I think, is tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can just deal with a whole, like a riot of people.
They're probably, I think a lot of them are excited. Like when there's the opportunity to interact, I think they are kind of excited. There's like solitary confinement in the West Hall block. I think, I don't know if everybody would say this, I think they're funny. Like when you give them, an EVP or like even the necrophonic app or whatever, they're funny. They know your name. They, they can say names and, the people they know. And they joke with you. I think they're just so excited to interact. If you go down the hall to protective custody, it's a little darker because it is, and they're not so funny. But I think, the different areas, so like, a solitary confinement, they're excited to interact with you. They want to talk to somebody.
Is there any like particular trigger objects in that prison that makes them go nuts? Just like cigarettes or something? Heaven forbid a dirty magazine.
One of our a former employee there and a former volunteer, he was a guard. And so then married this employee, giving tours. She would walk around wearing his jacket from back in the day when he was a guard and carry his badge. And they did not like her in the hospital. So in the hospital building, there was something about, all of that they did not like. But yeah, when she carried his stuff, they would, so things kind of going back to, so now she's, carrying around the things looking like a guard, and the inmates would not care for that.
I bet that did.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. I've always wanted to go to like Gettysburg in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and do that, because I know growing up in Northern Virginia, we had a lot of colonial era and Civil War, and occasionally you would bump into things. And Mom actually worked at Mount Vernon Mansion, and so I got a couple opportunities as a kid to go onto the property all night, and I guess I can say that on air. Nobody watches this, but we would see, like you would describe, the pinpoint of light inside, and it wasn't necessarily illuminating anything, but you could see it inside. And up in the cupola, occasionally you would see the light. And the guards are like, yeah, if I see that light, I'm leaving, because that means that either George or one of his relatives is in the building and they don't want to be there.
Well, that's interesting, because in that case, that's probably more like a candle, and for me, it was more like a flashlight probably, but it still comes through the same way. Yeah,
you could just see it real faintly. Yeah. Never heard footsteps, but you could always see the light. I won't say always, but whenever you would see it, it was usually the light. And in some of the battlefields, there's a neighborhood that was nearby that would have riders on horses come through, and it was colonial era from the American Revolutionary War. So so I've always wanted to do Gettysburg because they say the energy there is just overwhelming. So
just, I mean, well, it's in the earth. It's part of it now. And that's why, like, these old, like, prisons and everything, especially the really old ones, it's, they're made of this stone, so in this case, for this one, it's limestone quarried from right next, quarry right across the street. It's, just, and there's actually a spring there, a natural spring. So they had water. That's part of the reason they built it there. And that limestone, the stone just holds it. That just holds the energy. And so these old places, it's just part of it now, and you can't get away from it.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I never thought about the limestone, but that's we see with the Bigfoot. It's usually the energy from like the quartz in the ground for some reason, the quartz and granite. So yeah, and I've heard limestone too. Yeah, that's it. I hadn't thought of that, but yeah. And I was watching somebody the other night on a TikTok, and they were talking about when people die, now they just basically return the fluids back to the water system and the body to the ground. And so that energy is just scattered about everywhere, So, yeah. And I had never thought about that when she was talking about the water system. I was like, well, that's kind of creepy now that I think about it. But, But yeah, she was like, yeah, so she says energy is scattered everywhere. And she was more talking about, I think she was like in Philadelphia or something with the large COVID deaths, the amount of deaths. Yeah. And she said the energy is just scattered everywhere up here. So,
yeah, it is. I mean, it just is everywhere. I mean, it's pervasive. I think some areas, though, have the energy that we actually can interact a little bit better. So, yeah. It's pretty neat.
I did a ghost tour with a friend of mine in old city of Knoxville. And I was like, we're not going to have anything happen. This is going to be a bunch of crap. I wish Deacon was in the chat tonight. She could probably give us a little more details about some things, because me and her were a magnet out of the however many it was in the group, 15. Everything came straight to us.
That's awesome.
So we got a recording of it said to get out, and it turned on her light, and and I didn't even realize all the dark history of Knoxville. So I found that was kind of interesting too. So, and they were like, this is why this cemetery is haunted, and this is why this is. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even know this. So yeah.
I love so much like paranormal tours or like a haunted history type tour. Because I do, that's my vibe, that's what I like, but also because I think you learn so much more about an area than just, cute, nice things. A daytime tour is definitely different. So I think those paranormal tours, you learn so much about what happens in the city.
Hey, Bobby's back. Yeah.
I popped out of it.
Yeah, he just disappeared. Yeah. Because I didn't know the history of, all the dark stuff around Knoxville, and this guy had really went back and he had mapped out old buildings and said that this used to be a funeral home and this used to do this, and it was pretty, he had, of course, Knoxville at one point in time had a second story. So it's actually got a city underground that's not used. So there's, they had to build the city up back during the TVA era, during the dams and stuff. So plus Knoxville's built on a cave. So, but so it had a lot of cool history with it. If you ever get a chance, the guy's name escapes me. He's been on several TV shows and done some things, but the city of Knoxville ghost tour is well worth I don't remember what I paid, $20 or whatever it was. It was well worth it. Yeah.
That's not the only creepy thing in Knoxville. Have you heard of the Body Farm?
Oh gosh, yeah, I've toured the Body Farm. Yeah,
I was asking Kara.
They do tours. Hold on, I'm just shifting away. They do tours.
Yes, they do, but you got to get a VIP. But
you have to be on a wait list for the tours to the Body Farm.
Hey, unless you know somebody. But yeah, and Bobby, you'll never get in. You're an Alabama fan, so
I would never go to that cheating stadium again.
Well, part of the Body Farm actually goes under Neyland Stadium, so
I know.
It's a true story.
Really?
So Yeah.
Wow.
I got to tour as a paramedic student, and they sent us again when I went through communication school, working with the 911 center in Knoxville, and I don't ever want to go back. It is not because of any of the haunting factor or anything. You have to literally burn your clothes after you leave there. They are so bad. Yeah. So,
Wow.
but it serves a great purpose for it's. I'm sure Bobby probably knows the stadium, or the reason that it was built was because the investigator with Knoxville Police Department had a child case he couldn't solve because children don't leave fingerprints.
No.
And up to a certain age, your body doesn't produce the oil.
Oh,
And
I never
so,
knew that.
and so they had a case that was driving him crazy. And so he wanted to develop a technique to where he could pull kids' prints. And so he went to the university and they teamed with the FBI, and he writes books now. So yeah, Dr. Bass. So yeah, it's a really, really fascinating story. So
It always reminds me of that show Bones. When I think of Bones.
Yeah.
I've walked right by it several times, but I've obviously never been there.
Yeah, a lot of people that live there don't even know about it, but some of the things they do is very weird. Is out there.
Tour it. That's awesome.
Yeah,
you have to have a pass, but yeah, it's.
Well, you're in the nursing field. You could say you're getting your Tennessee license or something, and maybe get expedited up.
Go over and take a phalange off one of them. Souvenir.
They will haunt me in not a good way.
Yeah, that might bring back some bad mojo.
A lot of people don't know it. That's the reason Calhoun's Barbecue blows their smoke toward the stadium to shield the smell of the body farm.
I don't know that to be true.
That's completely made up, but
I was going to say that could be. Well, let me tell you that that's some good barbecue. This is some good barbecue.
I've had better.
Whatever.
Tennessee trash.
Oh Lord, we got Bobby fired up. All right, we'll have to.
Now I'm pissed. I got my Alabama cup here. Let me point my camera. Let me point my camera toward Tennessee. Get me.
Oh Lord, there's always next season, Bobby. Me and Bobby go back and forth about this. This is one of our things. We love to rib each other, but
I beat myself with a cat of nine tails about this. It's not fun. It's kind of a psychological problem with me. I wish I could get over it. Can you hypnotize me? Anyway, give me Lexapro.
So, what is I don't want to say you're most fascinating, but one of the things out on one of your we call them expeditions in the Bigfoot world that you've encountered?
Okay, so probably because it's just like at the forefront, right? This just so recently, because every story is pretty good, but I think this is a really cool story because it involved a lot of people. So it was the last weekend that I was there. It was the beginning of May, and it was when Dave and Shane were there. And one of the buildings, and you have to know where the buildings are for this to make a lot of sense and be really interesting, but I'm going to still tell the story. So one of the buildings we don't go into is the school in the chapel, or the chapel in the school. It's one long building. It's just usually not that active, usually not that interesting to go on a paranormal tour. So it was all locked up, not open, at the prison.
Okay.
So this one is just fun because it involves so many people. So a few of us were sitting way across, the grounds, pretty far away, and we were by the hospital, a few of us that are, usually there. And we saw a bunch of lights, like 5 lights, just, bright flashlights. Speaking of flashlights, and you don't usually see the light, but bright flashlights in the school. And we can see it through there. And we said, and honestly, they were so real. So, just obviously not a ghost, right? That we actually kind of amongst ourselves were like, who is going in there? What is happening? Why do they think they can do that? Like getting kind of mad about it, but we're going, you know what? We are so far away. We're worried about our station here. We're not going to go crazy about this. So we sat there and we just kind of kept watching it and kind of just being a little annoyed about it. And later, so we saw the 5 flashlights going one direction, and we didn't see them again coming back in the other direction, which is fine. Whatever. And then later, 10 minutes, whatever later, we see 2 flashlights going one way, 2 flashlights coming back out, and that was that. Okay, that was the end of the story as far as we were concerned. Later, Dave sent an EVP, saying, actually it was a DVP, a direct voice phenomenon, saying, what do you think this says? And so there was some debate. I think it said, I'm Dave, like mocking him. Some people, everybody had different things, but it came from outside of where they were actually in death row. So he went outside just in time to see those same 5 lights go across. And he was with, an employee of the, of the museum. And he said, nobody's there, are they? And it turns out, so they went real quick and checked if anybody was in there. And the building was locked. Nobody was in there. 2 of them, Dave and somebody else, went in. And then they were the 2 flashlights that went one way and the other. No evidence ever of the 5 flashlights. So totally locked building, totally, secure. It was a private rental. Nobody else was there. Nobody was messing around. Sometimes you'd say, oh, who knows? I don't know. But nobody, there was a lot of people on the grounds, but everybody was doing their thing in their right places. No 5 flashlights were there in the building. And only so many people even have keys. So you'd have to unlock it with a key, and go through. So the question there, so first of all, was that DVP, that direct voice phenomenon that somebody recorded, was that to get his attention, to get him outside to see it? Because it was just in time. They all heard it, and nobody was there, just in time for him to see the lights, see the flashlights. And we were, pretty far away, across the way, just happened to see it. Was this whole show for him? Or was it, was it a time slip? Was it ghosts, actively doing something in the time? Who knows? Because time slips are certainly a thing. And how many times have 5 people walked with flashlights across there? There's no power at the site. You use a flashlight during the day. So, what did we all see? We all saw something, and we all saw it. And a sound, something brought him out right at that moment to look at it. So I think that's fun.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
And I love that because so many people, of course, the direct voice phenomenon is on tape. So that was fantastic. And that was so that's some evidence. Nobody was out there saying anything. And something was, but nothing alive. But unfortunately, none of us got pictures or video of the flashlights, because who would have thought to do that? We honestly were just like, everybody was like, who is that? And let's tell them to stop doing the wrong thing. It was really like, everybody was like, those jerks, we're going to do something here. And there was nobody living in there. So that's awesome because nobody was there, and we all saw it. So I love that so much because I'm obsessed with shared experiences and not just me. It's one thing if I say, oh, I saw a shadow there. Okay.
Yeah.
Who cares, right? That same night or the next night? It might've been the next night. We were there for 2 nights. I had never had a doppelganger experience. One of my friends that's there all the time with me, we've heard his voice, he's, had a lot of experiences, but nobody's ever heard my voice there. Nobody has ever, anything. So I was a little, salty at these guys. Like, hey, I spend a lot of time here, let's do something, you do something for everybody else. Everybody else seems to have a thing. What about me? But so there's one spot, one of the galleries in the East Cell block. There's something there that I will say isn't great. Usually I say, oh no, I love everybody there. We get along with these, spirits or whoever's there, but there's something in the East Cell block that I don't know what happened. It wasn't like this always, but it's more recent. And it doesn't like women. It's women that don't like it. Men say, oh, this is fine. They can maybe sense something, but they're not bothered. Women tend to not like it at all. So we're standing there, and I walked past it pretty fast that night. I went to go follow the group of people. I was recording Dave, because why wouldn't I, right? And so I real quick went past this area and moved on and was actually taping. and taping like I'm 90, recording on my phone.
You're gonna tape it.
I was taping what I was watching. And so, two of my best friends were there with me, and they run in panicked, like panicked. How long have you been here? A while. I don't know how to even answer that. How do you? And they kept saying, no, really, how long have you been here? Because I was just standing there comfortably. And then I realized I was taping, so I could say, well, at least, however long it was. By then it was like almost 2 minutes, not forever, but a little while. And they go, no, you haven't been. And I said, no, but really, I certainly have been. And so all three of us walked in together. I kept walking. The two of them stopped to really look down this gallery where they felt, something was. I kept walking because I wouldn't. But they both independently of each other had turned around and saw me standing, leaning on some bars, just standing. One of them said, oh, you were looking at your phone. Your face was really bright, like you were looking at your phone. And I was like, but did you see my face? Like what? Because it wasn't me. And they didn't. And then the other one didn't see my face bright, but just thought I was standing there. But they both 100% saw me standing there, just leaning against the bars. And when they looked back and I was gone, they both like panicked because I couldn't move that fast, right? Like how is that possible? So I love that just because I got to have a doppelganger that night. But so the question too, again, is that a time slip, or is that somebody being like, haha, in the area that I don't like? I was like, I promised you guys I wouldn't be standing there. That's a pretty terrifying area. So is it that same entity that we don't like being anywhere near, kind of trying to get them to stay longer or luring them in a little bit?
Entice them in, yeah.
Because that's, in my experience, the doppelganger experiences we had there, which numerous, especially voice, by voice, those were always kind of to lure you to maybe a not safe area or lure you to a certain area. So was that meant to get them more comfortable to spend more time there? But then when I wasn't there is when they said, oh no, and ran away from it. So those are my two favorite. They're the most recent, so of course they're my favorite, and they're very me, and they're shared experiences. So in that case, my two friends both saw the same thing, just a little different.
And they have a side of the story that's just as crazy.
Yeah.
That's the freaky part. Like, you didn't even believe this.
And it was both of them running up, and I never see them anxious or scared or, oh my God, where have you been? How long have you been? They've never do they act like that. So I think when my friends that are so accustomed to that space and, the energy and the spirits around them, when they get like that, it's interesting, that something happened. So I love that. So those are my two recent stories, but there's a lot of stories. It gets to be pretty normal.
Yeah, with a lot of people, our normal is different than theirs. So yeah. I was going to say, me and Jessica this morning on her show were talking about the same thing, and she's like, "Oh, this is just normal," and we're like, "Wait a minute, well, it's normal to us." People in the chat were like, "Yeah, you all are normal." So, well, just true.
Yeah, no, I take for granted because my friends have such similar experiences to me. People around me you just say things like it's a perfectly normal fact. And then I go to work and I go, yeah, I'm on a paranormal podcast. I do some spooky things, we don't really talk about it, but once you kind of like step away from that space and you're with your own people, you're like, oh, this is normal. This is what we do.
But have you noticed it's gotten more acceptable in the last few years than it has been before?
Yes. So yeah, absolutely. So is that the internet and just TV shows that we think it's kind of normal that people are so desensitized to it?
Yeah,
or is
ramped
it
up? It's like, insane now.
The veil, I feel like the veil feels like it's thinner. I feel, for me, maybe that's just my coming into abilities a little bit more, but I feel like people are just having experiences, and I feel like that's where that area I don't like in the East Cell Block, that almost feels, I don't know if it's, portal is like an overused word, but if that's just like where the veil is real thin, maybe I think is what it is. I feel like some places it's really thin, but I feel like everywhere it's pretty thin. And that's a common sentiment with people in this life, as you have these conversations, that something is going on. One of the theories, and I kind of go, oh, I don't know, somebody mentioned the 5G. I don't know, but like, are we dealing with energies that are, that are changing how we're perceiving things and we don't realize? I'm just talking on a cell phone, but maybe, there's actually something that's hitting the right frequency. Or, some people say how we perceive the other side. So whether we see an apparition or like a shadow person or something else, it's because of just our vibrational level, like what hertz we're at, is how we perceive it, but we're all kind of experiencing the same beings.
What if it's the vaccine?
I don't think so.
I'm gonna get Glenn a warning on this channel now.
Oh Lord.
I don't think so, because I do think it was long before that. And if it really is, I'm going to go get like my third or fourth, whatever I'm on, booster.
Well, like
I will. If that's what does it, I'll go get another one.
Get 2 or 3. In the early 2000s and 90s.
I think I've had 3 of the vaccines. But no, once I had actual COVID like a year ago, finally I made it through. I was in critical care, like at the front lines, working through all of it. Never got it. You walk in on that first day thinking you're just going to die. But
yes.
Then you don't. And then you just keep going. And then it was finally a year ago May, that I finally got it. And it was enough that I got to be off of work for a while, but it wasn't terrible. I survived it, obviously. But it was.
Oh, it nearly killed me. It nearly killed me.
Bad. I mean,
holy cow.
Sicker than I've otherwise been, but I was really expecting. Some of my coworkers that got it like early, they really were out for, one was like a couple months. So I was like 3 weeks, maybe, I think, that I was out. But after that, I never got another booster, because I was like, you know what? I already got it. And I'm good now. But no,
they only required us in Georgia to have 2, so I got lucky.
Yeah.
But 2 shots, period. And then, like you, a year later, even I'm out here wrestling in the streets with drunks with it in the, literally, and never caught it. And I went to one of my wife's family members she was in hospice, and hospice didn't give a shit if you had COVID or not, so they didn't tell us. She had COVID when we went to go see her, and I was the one that caught it. I was like, she's got like a fever of 104, guys. I was like, yeah, everybody. And then we could have been one of those super spreaders, because it went from Maine to the Carolinas to Texas. I'm like, good Lord. Because they brought in the whole family for hospice. It's like, that's stupid.
I got it as soon as like the world started not wearing masks everywhere, and we started going back to a little bit of normal, right? So all that time, so I guess we did a great job at work. All that time, like up close and personal, when it was so bad, I did fine. Didn't get it. And it was probably like a trip to Costco. I don't know.
It always is.
Yeah.
It's Kroger's. That's what got you.
It just, like literally, I think Costco was the only place I was even going. And I was like, whoops. Oh, well. So I had some time off. It was relaxing, and I took a lot of naps. Didn't feel good, but I took a lot of naps. So, So if the vaccine will do it, I'll get another one, but I don't think so.
Well, I was going to say, just in the early 2000s, nobody was ghosty, nobody was UFO-y. And then here come your bunch with Taps and Bagan and all those, and the ghost tours got popular everywhere in every city. My city's got one. And now everybody has a story. Like, my grandma used to see like ghosts in her house all the time. I'm like, everybody's got one.
Like, so did we just never talk about it? I think we never talked about it. I never told somebody like I grew up with a ghost. Why?
Now it's kind of cool.
And now you're like, let me tell you about the ghost I grew up with.
Like, yes, queen.
So I think, we just have a different perception. It's normal. I remember when I started my unit, I actually went back to critical care during COVID. And they had a year or two prior had a medium that was there for a while. And apparently she saw who was there before her, who didn't make it. And they were all over our unit. And it was a normal conversation. Nobody said, oh my God, can you believe that this woman said this? Everyone was like, so this medium said this room and this room. And, and I knew that I found my home when people were talking like that. I was like, all right. Thank you. But I think it just got to be really normal that we can talk like that and finally share the information. Which
Yeah,
is
there
cool.
was a hospital in Tennessee that the doors would open and close, and it got to be such commonplace that everybody, including us, the EMS workers coming in, we knew about it. So
love it.
yeah, and that was that was probably the oldest hospital in Knoxville. I think it's been torn down now, but yeah.
Yeah, it's all those old hospitals are getting torn down and we're getting brand new hospitals, or they're building brand new wings and tearing down the old stuff. So you don't get that same, you don't get to have a good haunted hospital anymore. They're all going by the wayside. So
The good old days.
Yeah. I mean, it was great when these rooms were tiny and weird. It was great. No, I'm a nice new hospital.
I was stayed at a haunted fire station. One of our stations was haunted. I literally despise being assigned to that station because I knew it was going to mess with me, and I was not going to sleep. If I did manage to get some sleep, I knew I was not going to sleep.
Yeah.
So and. Well, we hear the same thing on our end, haunted fire stations, bringing things back to the station with us, so yeah, we've had all those encounters. So,
well, and you have, so per this guy that actually saw everything, you come across these traumas that are really, at least when somebody in the hospital doesn't make it, they either maybe expect it, there's a little clue maybe for the person, hey, I didn't make it through today. But I think when you come across these, MBAs, oh boy, what is going on?
Oh, we're getting storms in Georgia, so.
I think, a good MBA, you don't know that happened. I mean, I'd be shocked if it was me. So I think, I could see them following you home like, okay, yeah, we're going to go with you because you're going to help us, and now you have a ghost attached to you. Now you have a new friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we've had that station. We really believe there was a creek out back, and one guy came to the station. It wasn't on my shift, and he was talking about the guy fishing out back. He caught some fish, and we're like, "It's fenced in. What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Yeah, I saw him. And he was walking out in front of your station with some fish. He had like 3 fish, like on a stringer." And we're like, "Nobody fishes back." And we've heard that from people in the neighborhood. They've seen somebody back there fishing. They think it's us, So because the chief's even like, "I don't want to catch you back there fishing. No, nobody catch you." So I mean, we don't have time for it, but yeah. And so we believe that that's what's happened because it's commercial property, and it was commercial property for a long time before that. And we think, well, this guy just kind of wandered in, and he kind of likes us and isn't going to leave. So,
decent fishing. I wouldn't leave either.
He seems to always catch 3 fish. It's always 3 fish. They say they see him with a stringer or 3 fish. So
it could be a biblical allegory.
Got me. I don't know, but yeah, it's weird, but yeah. So yeah, you can, and I've seen things on calls too that would just creep you out. So, you lost your audio there. I can't hear you. Is she muted? No, she's not muted. But yeah, well, I know, Bobby, you've heard the story of my first cardiac arrest. I'm in the back of the ambulance, and everything that could possibly go wrong is going wrong. And I'm a brand new paramedic. Guy's color comes back. His skin color returns to normal. Vital signs get normal. And he reaches out like he's going to hug me. And I'm like freaking out a little bit because, I'm a brand new paramedic. This is 30 years ago. And he goes, "No, not you. The guy beside you." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's Jesus." Instantly coded. Yeah. I'm like, shit. So I punched him in the chest. That's the old way of doing it if you haven't been a nurse long. So, yeah. So,
but the guy lived, by the way.
Yeah, the guy did live. It was my very first cardiac arrest. It was a save. Yes, it was a witness arrest, and it was a save. I had to ask this question because he stopped and the guy died. I'm like, wait, what? What happened?
So, like, he's reaching for the other guy. That's making it.
I would ask him what Jesus looked like. I mean, was he a white dude, Middle Eastern?
I wanted to get him to the hospital and give him to her. I didn't want him anymore. I didn't care what he looked like. So plus, I think that might be subjective because to him, it may have been, what you typically see of
pictures. Yeah.
Yeah. Think of as Jesus. So, but yeah, that one was probably one of my most terrifying ones. So, but
no, that
yeah,
is.
How about you?
because you've probably had, you don't have necessarily a corner of the room because you have an ambulance, but people look at the corner of the room and that's how you know that they're not here much longer. You know, when they see somebody in the corner.
Yeah.
I never look in the corner. I never turn around. To this day, I go, that's nice. And I don't turn around and I don't look at the corner until later. Later in the day, I'll look at the corner, but not right then when they say
I've tried really hard to get hospice nurses on my podcast, and they just won't do it.
Interesting.
I don't
A
know.
lot of
I
them
don't
have
know,
stories.
I don't know if I should try again because that's been 6 months ago when I didn't really have my game down. Hey, how are you? But now I got a little like a smidge of clout. I should start trying to do it. I don't know.
Well, it's funny talking. It is funny talking about like that healthcare stuff, right? Because everybody, I don't know. There's a little. It's obviously not a HIPAA thing because you're not revealing any personal information, but it's still like that kind of exclusive information, you know, that privy information that there's only so much you'll say. Even on my own show, they were like, we should do it back when, remember that when that football player, I totally forgot his name, went down and they had to do CPR on the field.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I thought it was so interesting. Me and all my coworkers thought it was so interesting that the world really kind of went wild over this because we're like, it's just CPR. Like, what is, people are saying, oh, I saw CPR. I saw this. And we're going, that was not that exciting. You know, nothing very interesting happened there. And I mean, it's a shame, you know, that this all happened, but the guy's okay now, you know, but we're like, what is so exciting about this? So my co-hosts on my podcast wanted me to talk about what it's like maybe when somebody dies or what it's like when this happened. And I was like, I don't think you're prepared for how not eventful it is. And I think while the nurses, especially hospice nurses, have some good stories, it's less eventful than you want it to be. And that's, I think,
and on my end,
people aren't ready for.
Yeah, and on my end, it's so abrupt.
Yeah.
And literally one thing can change the dynamics of the entire process. So, and it's not pretty in the field. So, you know, my wife works in the OR, so she's always, you know, giving me grief. And I'm like, you're in a perfectly sterile environment. I'm out here in the dirt and the mud.
You know what they do? They run them to the ICU. They die in the ICU.
I was going to say ER, but yeah.
They run them out of that room and they go, here.
Had a pulse when I last, just like the nursing home. Had a pulse when I saw him. When was that? 7 hours ago? Well then,
Good enough for them.
The next shift. So, but yeah, and so, but talking about that, I think that a lot of that was, and I actually had an officer on here. I think he was he was out of the West Coast, police officer, and we were talking about PTSD, and he said that statistically there are more people in emergency medicine and emergency services that have been traumatized as children, that we see this as normal. And I kind of thought about that for a minute and I thought, well, that does make sense, but we see, and you too, being in the critical care field, you see the end of the trauma so often that it becomes our normal. And so I got to asking people, I'm like, were you traumatized or did you have this? And a lot of people did. But you're right. So many people, I've got friends that are in psychiatry and they're like, yeah, we saw people because of Monday Night Football. And I was like,
wild.
I know. I was like, that's a day in the park. You know, I was triggered because of the fact that it brought back a memory of me being on a football field doing CPR, you know, and I've been out of the field now since 20. So it's like, yeah, I can see where it would have the effect. But
I watched it and I was like, oh, and I wasn't watching it live. So maybe that's a different experience too, because I was watching and I just thought, well, hopefully they bring him back. And I was like, none of that bodes well. And I thought, well, and so it's just interesting. And he did well, but like because he's young, so he would, but it's interesting to me that so many people were so freaked out. You know, I don't know. And I think, oh my God, what does that say about me? Good or bad or the ugly? I don't know. You know, because I'm like, this is fine. I was not traumatized. So
and it was like a good story. So ESPN carried, or was it ABC carried it live? ESPN picked it up for until like 4 a.m, and everybody was like glued to their TV. So
yeah.
And he's actually gonna play again next season, if I understand correctly. So I mean, no. Use that insurance policy, dude. You're young. You can do something with the money. So, I mean, I would, but yeah.
Yeah, no, he was up and walking and fine. So yeah, these young guys, they're young, they're fine, they got reserves. And that's so interesting to me. So yeah, what like goes through our head, and then I wonder, did maybe some of my experiences, and because I did nothing traumatic, I have nothing traumatic for me to have done this, but maybe because I just feel that connection with the other side. I don't know. Like for some reason, I think I am only happy maybe when I'm with those more critical situations, those crazier situations, or when I'm doing weird things like running around abandoned places. I don't know.
You've got it. You're an adrenaline junkie. I can tell you what it is. You're an adrenaline junkie. Yeah.
I don't think of it that way, but I'm like, yep, I definitely run towards bad things. I run towards it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it defines you, and I think, there are so many emergency workers and healthcare workers in the paranormal.
Yeah.
In fact, one of my Bigfoot teams is almost made up of all medics. It's funny. So, yeah, I mean, it's like it was like a collective force. It just drew us all together, and it's not like we all work for the same county or even the same agency or close by. But it's just like we met each other, and then we were like, hey, my buddy's in this group. Well, yeah, oh, cool. My buddy's in this group. And
I've had a ton of cops on.
There has to be, to run around in the forest at night, like you have to have something.
You gotta be a little nuts.
Like, that is weird. Like, right? That is a crazy thing to do.
Yeah. But yet
it's not
fun at the same time.
Totally
yeah.
Valid. I think it's totally valid, but to normal people, it's maybe not.
And even while we're out in certain places, we'll come across cemeteries, and we'll wander in them, and we've had other adventures. So it's not I don't know. It is. I think it is the adrenaline for a lot of it. So
I think it is. Yeah, I think it's that you do such a wacky thing. I'm going to say wacky. I'm going to go with that term. You do such a wacky thing normally that how do you top it in your hobby, right? Like if I just knitted, that wouldn't be enough. That would be, I think you have to like kind of keep like upping the ante a little bit. So maybe it is some sort of trauma response to something. I don't know.
It could be.
It's not a big deal.
Don't worry about it. It's cool anyway.
It's good. So have you had an experience where you've been truly, I don't want to say terrified, but at least scared pretty good?
Okay, so I'll tell you the story. The most scared I have been, period, I think. So it's the ghost experience or not, before I had my like experience with the guard that I admitted I had a ghost experience. So this old prison for a long time was pretty darn abandoned. And there's like a homeless shelter not far away. And if you get there too late or you're not too sober or various reasons, you might not have a bed there at night. So it was not crazy for people to end up at this prison. There's like a nature trail, and so people used to be able to break in. There's a nature trail that goes by it, and I mean, this is I can walk to this place from my house. It's a little bit of a walk, but I can walk to it. And there is a trail that sometimes during the summer, especially, you'll see kind of like makeshift little camps that people just kind of live there. So is not a crazy concept that somebody might be at this prison spending the night or living there, or squatting. Less so now than it used to be, but that was a reality. So when people first started inhabiting the prison officially in an official capacity for tours, it was not unusual to find spaces that people were maybe sleeping or camping. So that's the background here.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always that risk. I would always say, I'm not afraid of the ghosts. I'm afraid of the live people, because you don't know what they're gonna do. This is maybe their home now. And we say that about the spirits, this is their home, but like it might be a live person that this is their home, and you just have to be cognizant of that. So, with that as the background, by the time this event happened, there really weren't people that we knew of that were around. It was pretty safe from a people perspective, but there's always that in the back of your head. So, anyway, there were a few of us that were volunteers that stayed later. We had a little, get together. We all kind of stayed the day. And a few of us were walking around. At this point, there were 3 of us women walking around together, just kind of exploring at night. Of course, anything is more fun at night. So kind of walking around at night with some flashlights, actually literally one flashlight, and having a nice time. So we're walking back finally to get back to the front, where everybody else was. And one woman was holding the one flashlight, and we went to go walk through the showers. So showers are going to be a kind of eventful place in the prison, right? In any prison, showers are where you're more likely to have something negative happen. We all heard about don't drop the soap. And so most importantly, though, in addition to that concept, it's an area that you are maybe kind of free of the guards. The guards are not running into your shower area. They're going to stay back. You kind of have free reign. So if there is something that has to happen, whether it's a fight or whatever, the shower is a good place for that to happen. So whether it's a fight or not a fight, something is going to happen in the showers. So they tend to be notoriously kind of violent and eventful. So pretty much without fail, something kind of always happens in the showers when you go check out the showers. But so we, not thinking too much about it, had to cut through the showers because of some doors being locked, and we had to just make it back. So we go into the showers, through a guard area first, and then into the showers. And on, much like at a pool, you see them at a pool too, the poles that have shower heads off of them. There's a bunch of those in the shower space. So out of nowhere, we just turn in, and one of the women's holding a flashlight. We just turn in to walk into the shower space, and you hear on one of them, bang, 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 like somebody is hitting a big pipe against this big central pipe, loud and, a very concrete sound. It's real. And she, with the flashlight, slowly kind of slowly like pans over to look at the sound at that pole. I know there's a pole there. And she doesn't like react, and she just like kind of turns the flashlight in her body, just not even like turning anything, just turns her whole body and turns the flashlight away towards us, the other 2, and looks at us and just kind of blink. We're like, and before we could say, so what did you see? What's going on? What's happening? It's scary, right? Another bang, bang, bang. She turns the flashlight back, looks at where it's coming from, and then kind of turns back to us. And again, before we could say, so what are you, what is happening? It happens one more time. Bang, bang, bang. She quick whips the flashlight back, just like goes white, and turns really fast towards us. Me and the one other non-flashlight holder just turn and go running out down those stairs. I remember, I can like viscerally feel it. The 2 of us, like, arm in arm linked, and just bouncing down the stairs because I am terrified. I am sure that somebody is coming to kill us. I am positive. This one with the flashlight was behind us going, wait for me! Run! Yelling, to just run. I have never been more scared, honestly, my whole life than in that moment, because I thought for sure somebody surely is squatting in the showers. We don't go through them often at all. Surely somebody's like living here. They are going to come kill us. Obviously this is what's going to happen. This is what I went straight to. She never saw anything. There was never anything there. There was never, not a person. It was a big mag light. Like it illuminated the space. We were just around the corner though, so we couldn't see what she was seeing. Like, we were not quite brave enough. Once we heard the loud bang, we were like, what? And just stopped moving. And every time there just wasn't anything there. So we heard the banging, we all heard it, and she shined the flashlight in the whole shower area. It's not like it was just that one pole. Nothing there. So some people say, well, that's your first ghost story. You obviously, something happened there. And I'm still not convinced it's not a person because it was so just concrete. It was such a clear, obvious sound. It was somebody obviously was banging a pipe on the shower mechanism thing
Yeah.
that to this day, despite all of the experiences I've had, I am positive that had to be a real person, except her husband was actually out front. We wanted another way out so we didn't have to go through the showers. I refused, but he was like, no, there's no other doors open. You have to. And so he came and met us and he checked out the shower first. Like we had him on the phone. We're like, you looked, right? There's nobody there. Nobody's here, and he met us. We wouldn't until we heard his voice, would not go through the showers. Nobody was there. Probably a ghost. I don't know, but that was the most scared I've ever been because I was sure that was it. Somebody was going to kill us. That was it. Like
I was waiting on you to say it was a raccoon. So.
Yeah, maybe it was a raccoon. Just perfectly timed. Bang, 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 and it was the same bang, bang, bang 3 times. The same, and every time when she would turn away with the flashlight, just in time to turn, bang, 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 like. So it was something, because or I've even said, what if they're on another floor, because there's levels, right? And each level is still a shower. So were they on another floor? Well, if they were on another floor, they wouldn't have seen her. If it was raccoon, they wouldn't have been as good,
Yeah.
So that was probably my first really good ghost story there, but also the most terrifying. And I still say, I don't know, because it was like way too concrete and intelligent, way too like just obvious. I like a good distant bang or a good distant, or I have a good breath story, but like I like a good like you're not sure story. That was too much, and it was too close.
Too close, yeah. We were at base camp one night, and it sounds like there's a herd of elephants coming through the woods at us, and we're like, oh, cool. And it keeps getting closer and closer and closer, and we're looking up, we're looking in the trees, we're looking up, and all of a sudden something starts bumping the chairs. We're like, oh crap. And it was armadillos. We were looking up for, and it sounded, I swear to God, it sounded like a herd of elephants coming through the woods. It was like 3 of them. So, but it was fall, nice, crisp, cool, night, and we're looking up because we hear this, we're like, oh, it's something big coming. Yeah, it was armadillos. And then when it bumped our chairs, it scared us. We were like, what was that? It's ghost.
Well, of course.
No, it's an armadillo.
Important Bigfoot question. Do you think Bigfoot is like an actual mammal, like a primate, just living here and hanging out in the woods, or extraterrestrial, or like, another dimension?
Both.
Yes. I believe that it is flesh and blood of some type.
Okay.
When it's here, it's flesh and blood.
Yeah, well, when it's here, but I also just read an article talking about how that some people have gotten, well, let me back up a little bit. There's a theory that they are from interdimensional or extraterrestrial somehow, but when they're here on Earth, they have mated and had children, babies, whatever, and that those are somehow different. And they segregate, they believe now that this group that I was reading about believes now, and they're I think they're out of Michigan. They believe that they discriminate against the ones that are born on planet, and that there is a difference. And when I read the article, and it kind of explained it, because you kind of have to wonder how a creature, because we've tracked them and they disappear. I'm not just disappear, but the footprints, everything will disappear, So you kind of go to wonder how that happens. So are they using tech? Is it an inherent ability? Ron Moorhead believes a little bit of quantum mechanics may be involved with the fact that, it could just be a vibrational disturbance and we can't see them. So it could be a multitude of things. But after I was reading that article and that author's opinion, that they feel like there's some that are discriminated against because they're born on the planet and that they're locked to the planet, they can't leave.
Well, when you say born, are they mixed with anything like one of our like primates, or are they just happen to be born here and now they're stuck?
Yeah, it's like they're illegal aliens, and on our planet, basically. They're undocumented earthly visitors. And they don't want them back. Yeah, and they're
here's my Bigfoot cheat code. Just watch Skinwalker Ranch, and I think the rules that apply there apply to them for the most part. A lot of the same abilities.
Yeah,
that I've heard people tell me and heard on interviews, and then Skinwalker does it. Like, that's the same thing. He said about Bigfoot, taking things out of a phone, manipulating electronics, just messing with stuff to where it's never going to get a picture.
Yeah, either they have tech or something. Yeah,
to make you sick.
Do you think that's why we never really captured too much evidence? Because maybe all along we weren't thinking along these lines because we didn't have internet, digital photography, like all these digital things. So we were acting like they were just primates.
Yeah, I think that thinking they're primates is not like a monkey you can't find. I don't think that's accurate.
I
think they mess with electronics.
Like, you could find a monkey.
Yeah, and if you've ever been zapped, which I got zapped one night in the field, and it was the strangest thing. So, if you ever experience that, you'll know that there's got to be something more to them. So, and it wasn't like a violent thing, but I definitely knew there was something happened. So, yeah.
They make you sick. They zap you. They mess with your mind. They give you time slips. I've heard of time slips, just like people in Waverly Hills had.
So, but then that would maybe suggest almost like alien, maybe, or
it's a similar technology, quote unquote technology.
Yeah, it's if they are not extraterrestrial, I believe somehow they are with extraterrestrial or intradimensional, however you want to look at it. I believe that they've worked hand in hand. Whether they're here to be their laborers, whether they were prisoners. I mean, I've heard people say that Earth is their prison. They've been sent here to their prison because they were bad on their planet. So, I mean,
feces everywhere.
Yeah, so I don't know.
I feel like I am not a Bigfoot person. That's our one of my co-hosts and friends. That's her bag, but. How long has that, like, this kind of theory been going on? Because it was really pretty new to me to hear that maybe they're not just like a primate. Because I think I always was just like, oh yeah, no, we'd find a primate. Stop it, all of you. This doesn't exist, right? But now that I'm hearing all of these other views on it, I'm going, oh, valid that we're not finding
the UFO community and the Bigfoot community used to hate each other, and in some aspects they still do, but one of the guys on my team goes out and gives lectures, and he told us he was going to do it at a lecture in Georgia, and he broke the ice on that Bigfoot has an extraterrestrial component or an interdimensional, like however you want to look at it. And it was funny at that convention or conference, whatever it was in North Georgia. After that, people started talking about it, and it wasn't like it was and I'm not saying my teammate broke the story or whatever, but I think he made it more approachable because he's so well known in the field. So
how long ago was that?
Gosh, that's probably 10 years maybe. Okay.
I'll say this, everybody that has the Bigfoot in their backyard, the old timer that's known them for years, they all think they're paranormal. Not one of them think they're great. They all see them do crazy stuff. They see them cloak. They see them disappear. They they always get their mind messed with. The mind speak, the infrasound.
And my family in Tennessee, they've had one come in the house at night. Doors all locked, windows closed, be in the house like a human being. And I was like, okay, well, that's really weird, but freaked the hell out of my mom. But
and just energy, then sure.
Yeah, and then of course, one of the my team members, Trey Hudson, wrote the book about the portals in Alabama that we had two teammates go into by mistake. And so, yeah, there's the portals.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So and that makes me like far more interested, because honestly, when it was just a primate, I was like, you're all ridiculous.
Hey, it's a new game. Whenever you hear people 1,000 miles apart say the same thing,
Yeah.
It'll freak you out a little bit.
It's that verification. Somebody next to you saying, or
7-year-old me that can't use technology telling you the same
hey,
stuff. Man, wow.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It got me. I was like, what?
I've interviewed people in Florida, and they're like, if you want to see apes in Florida, we can show you the apes. There's definitely, loose apes in Florida. That's not a secret, So I was like, okay, now we're onto something. So yeah, and you can actually go on YouTube and Google and see there's people that go out, they'll be kayaking and stuff and going down the river, and they'll see monkeys. So
there's actual monkeys.
Yeah. Apparently, in the 80s, the hurricanes that came through destroyed several zoos, and they never collected all the animals back up. And so that's
skunk ape, or is the skunk ape like a Bigfoot?
I think the skunk ape is probably different. Yeah, I think the skunk ape was probably just a thinner, smaller Bigfoot. But yeah, there's definitely monkeys in the woods, and I've talked to people that live there. Like, yeah, it's real.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Apparently, you get down in South Florida, down around just I guess Miami down, and the Everglades, and it's not uncommon.
They probably would be very successful there.
Yeah, and that's what a guy was telling me. He said, I think it was during the 80s, several hurricanes came through and just totally leveled zoos, and they never captured all the animals back. And so some of them have just taken up. So
this is so interesting. So then when people now talking about skunk ape, when they're maybe hearing some questionable sounds, it just might be an actual monkey.
That'd be wild, wouldn't it?
It would be,
It's a Bigfoot, the monkey swing by. Like, holy shit, it's actually a monkey.
It's a real monkey.
It's so crazy. Those poor Everglades, they're like, here's your regular alligators that are part of it, but now you also have pythons because you all were stupid. And you have iguanas that are going to fall from trees when it gets
I love that.
And now here's some monkeys that probably don't like you. Oh, no.
And they've got all the cats down there too. So they've got the cougar and the mountain lions. They got all
rough area. Oh my god. And then all the cats. Jeez.
Yeah.
And then what a wild area. Like that was never meant to be like that. That was never meant to be so horrible.
No.
Well, I don't need the Everglades. That's it. I'm good. I don't need that in my life.
I want to do one of the there's a certain name for it where they take you out, or you can take a kayak or a john boat or whatever, and you can camp on, it's basically a pier in the middle of the Everglades.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I kind of want to do that. Yeah, because they say that
they have alligators.
Alligators can't climb.
They have
snakes. I don't know.
Huge pythons,
very big.
All monkeys that are going to come get you. They don't like you, and all the cats. And iguanas. The iguanas are fine. They're just going to fall out of the tree.
The iguanas. We went to the Keys last fall, and the iguanas were everywhere. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. They were like chicken. And there's actually chickens all over Key West. They run wild in the Keys. So
it's so funny because for us, they're pets that you have to go to some effort to take care of. And no, not there. They're just going to fall out of the trees at you. That's wild.
They have to put warnings out that, once it drops below, I think 40 for more than 6 hours or something. And my friends have said that they've pulled them out of their pools. Because they'll go there to warm up. I guess they don't have to breathe as often as we do, so they will go and hold their breath and get in a warm pool, and they'll pull them out like little ice sticks.
I assumed they were just floated and
No. They when they go to get cold, they know that water is warmer, so they'll try and go there, and then they'll system will hibernate. And they're like, we'll get the pool and some guano. Let me pick it up.
So in the Chicagoland area, we have no iguanas trying to live in my pond, but I have a pond, just a koi pond in my backyard. If anything, you just pull dead things out of it. I can't imagine like a iguana here. Get to safety, iguana.
Yep. They say they just pour a little warm water on it and let it sit for a while and it'll be all right.
Ew. I mean, I guess if that's what you do. I'm just assuming it's dead. So if it's not dead, I guess it's not gross. It's just a whole different world living in those warm climates.
Yeah, and if that's not that far from us, I mean, when you think about it. So, well, I mean, you're from Chicago, but even then, you're only, 1,500 miles? So it's not, in the bigger picture, that far from it. So.
Really? Yeah, no. I mean, 12 hours is Atlanta. I think Atlanta's 12 hours.
Yeah. The Keys from us is about 9, so yeah.
Yeah, I just saw Cryptid 559 chime in there. How's it going, Cryptid?
Yes, hello, Cryptid. So, Bobby, I've been talking a lot. You got any questions for this young lady? I'm sure you're the ghost guy, so.
No, she answered all mine.
I proactively handled it. I felt them and I answered them.
Yep. We're gonna revisit Mr. Bauer's obituary soon.
I really need to. I mean, really, message me one day and I'll be like, who is this guy? And then I'll be like, oh, I got to do
that.
I come across
like it's that creepy guy from that show.
I come across like somebody you've known for 20 years on a message, so it's like I think I know him. Like, I'll make you feel like I'll gaslight you into thinking we're friends.
We can be friends.
I meet famous people like, hey man, what's up, buddy? Like I introduce myself as myself, like they would know me. Hey Tom,
we're
how's
already
it going?
friends. That's it. We're friends already.
Yeah.
I always say I run a small but successful podcast. It's a little lie, but it's successful. It's small, but
I tell them I'm putting together a series, so it sounds like I'm doing something. It's just it works. I always have a guest. I'm booked out till October. I mean, I'm doing something right.
Yeah, well, and I find in our world, the paranormal world, that most people are pretty receptive to talk to you. So I've only been snubbed by a couple people. So
yeah, no, there was one person that was supposed to be on our show that he went on like a social media blackout just in time for our show. So I don't know if it had anything to do with us. I would like to think maybe it did. And then he came back to social media, but didn't answer any of our messages again. So I was like, okay.
He won't be on our show. The blocking or just the ghosting, or not, no pun intended.
Yeah, no, so not blocked, but like kind of like
not there.
Ghosting. So like I sent a message like, oh, that's a shame. Like we literally were sitting there waiting for him to hop on, right? And I was like, oh, that's a shame. Well, when he's back, because it was his management talking for him. And I was like, well, when he's back, ready to, we're here, nothing ever again, no response. So it's not even something that should be too big for his britches. But, so that was weird. But other than that, no, everybody's amazing.
And when, even if just outside the paranormal, in the podcasting world, because I've had other podcasters on, and it's a pretty tight group, and very few people get that way. So, but yeah, I'm a small but yet successful. And now I have the Bobby Dizzle with me, so I gotta be successable. So, but yeah, I gotta be. So one of the two of us is gonna make it.
I've gotta make it. I can't work the rest of my life.
Retirement isn't what y'all think it is either. I mean, I fell asleep. I was napping today with a 2-year-old bouncing on me. So, my grandchild. So, it's not. Well, you'll wake up and he'll like bounce on your head and go back to sleep. So I was doing like the bobbly head thing. So it's not what you think it is. But I couldn't be happier with the fact that I don't have to work, but I would enjoy going back to doing something, especially missing the adrenaline. So I got to say that. So
I could see that. Yeah.
That's the part. And I miss the camaraderie. And I think I also get that from the paranormal community, the camaraderie of family. So I miss that, because when you're on duty or when you're with your team or whatever, it's a second family, because you share something that an outside normal family doesn't. And so I think I get that from the paranormal, because like I said earlier, I was on a Jessica show, and it's like we were talking back and forth like big brother, big sister, about stories, and people are like, you guys are a little weird. I'm like, yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, so I think there is a little bit of that, but hey, I don't want to keep you all night. I'm sure you got things to do. So I'm glad that you came on, and I really hope that you consider coming back sometime.
Absolutely, yeah.
any big adventures planned coming up?
I have my podcast every week, Late Night Legends. So you can follow us on all kinds of social media or online, latenightlegendspodcast.com or latenightlegends.boo. So that's weird but cool.
Oh,
.boo.
I want a .boo.
Who knew? Yeah.
.boo domain.
How did you get that?
.boo. I have a website with kind of a team of, it's kind of like where urban exploring and paranormal kind of, mix in. There's Facebook group, Facebook page, Instagram, and a website, Hella Obscura. So that's a lot of fun. And pretty soon here, July 8th, I am going to be a panelist at Chris Fleming's Pop-Up Paracon in Woodstock, Illinois.
Ooh.
I am so excited. When I got that message, I literally I was at work and I jumped up and down. So Dave Schrader's going to be the host of the panel. Shane Pittman's going to be on it. So literally just to be on stage with them, coolest thing ever. So I'm really excited about that. And of course I had a commitment with my kids earlier in the day. We're going to do the Savage Race, an obstacle course race. So I'm literally going to then fly to a hotel, clean up, and get to this Paracon with bells on. I'm so excited. Cool. So that's my big stuff coming up. That's, that I know of. Who knows? And always schoolwork, getting my master's, always work and busy all the time. So pretty excited and looking. And of course, I filled a lot of my time already, but always looking for, new homes to go volunteer and go interact just with history and the ghosts. I love the history part kind of the most, and the ghosts are the bonus. So
cool.
Preserving history.
Cool.
Show you there. I love history.
Awesome. Well, you're welcome back anytime. We do this every Wednesday night, have a guest, and then on Saturdays I have and I call it the Misfits. We can talk about anything from paranormal to emergency medicine to politics, and it's just a show where we get together and BS and carry on for 2 hours. So if you're ever bored one Saturday night and you want to hop on, just let me know. We would love to have you in as a panelist, and you will get heckled by a mannequin. I just got to warn you. Bobby has been traumatized.
So much. I don't know. I'm a little traumatized.
It took Bobby a few weeks to get over it, but he did.
Not over it.
Well, you're from Alabama. It's kind of hard to tell. So
I just know it's about to happen here as soon as she leaves the stage. I know it's about to happen again.
She's like, please don't go, Carol.
As soon as Carol leaves, it's going to come back.
She's going to be here.
Mommy, leave the light on.
So, but and of course you're welcome to stay around. We're gonna hang around for a little bit longer. Some other people normally hop in here. I'm surprised they haven't got in here yet, so I should probably send a message say come on in. But yeah, you're more than welcome to hang around with that too.
I admit, I'm gonna go grab dinner. It's dinner time.
Yeah, that's probably more important. You got to feed the kids. So, what's for dinner? Anything good? We might come join you.
HelloFresh. It's always HelloFresh. We love HelloFresh. It's the firecracker meatballs. Every time they have it, we get it.
The missus made a new recipe tonight, and it was a smoked sausage taco. So that was actually kind of good. Yeah, it was one of those that kind of come in from work, and she's like, "Oh, we're gonna have something quick." So
no, it sounds delightful.
Yeah, it was actually pretty good.
Now that the mannequin's here,
you're out.
It's been wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I totally appreciate it.
Well, we're glad you're here. Okay, very good. I'll message you later in the week and we'll catch up.
Perfect. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I just scare everyone away.
Yeah, JT, you scare everybody away. How are you, JT? In Shelton?
Keep me out of this shot.
Oh, look, you scared Bobby off.
Have you noticed every single time Shelton comes on, Bobby does leave.
He does. I think you scare him.
Why are you so scared of me?
Them eyes looking around.
It's the eyes.
I see you.
I'm not mature enough to differentiate. That's one person. I don't have the brain power to.
So,
I mean,
JT Shelton, you were backstage some during that, and I know you were on the show watching. So, did you learn anything today?
I sure did. I don't know
What?
JT. He wasn't around.
yeah, I was watching in
Oh,
the other room.
so what'd you learn?
Ghosts are real. Oh, and I already knew that.
Oh yeah.
Do you have any ghost stories, Shelton?
I don't think we should tell him.
Yeah, probably not. No, we ain't gonna talk about it tonight.
Yeah, not
Okay.
tonight.
Okay. Well, then you're gonna have to tell us another night. We're eventually gonna make you tell it. As Bobby says, the cat of nine tails to beat it out of you. So,
Yeah. Get the cat of nine
Well,
tails.
it's just. I mean, I think we've talked about them already, like backstage, but
okay. All right. Well, that's cool.
How'd you get her to come on the show?
How did I get Sarah?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it was simple. I just asked.
Okay.
What do
That's
you
how I
think?
get all my people too, but you never know.
No, and I actually didn't have any mutual friends or anything. I just messaged her and said, "Hey, I run a small but successful podcast." So,
It's not abnormal nowadays just to be on a podcast. I don't think people just do it. I'm like, why? What do you have to? Why would you be on this stupid shit?
Look, I just do it.
I had an author contact me the other day, and he's like, "Hey, can I be on your show?" And I'm like, "How do you know me?" So I'm like, "Sure, we'll have you."
I think that's going to be weird when I finally get like some notoriety, like, and people reach out, like an agent, like, what? Really? Why? Why would you do that?
Yeah. Well, when we had the guy from he wrote the book about that we didn't go to the moon. Yeah, he wouldn't talk to us directly. It was his agent, and which was kind of weird because everybody else had been directly contacting us, and so. But yeah, normally you just ask, and I got turned down once. I got turned down for something earlier today I saw, but it was kind of a stretch. So, but
I don't
it's
care
all
if I
good.
get turned down.
No.
If I get turned down, it means I've done. I mean, I didn't leave anything on the table.
Well, even in the email, she said it might not be a good fit for her, and she's a celebrity, but she knew somebody she was going to send it to. So I was like, that's kind of cool. So whether or not she does or not, but
all takers.
Yeah. Well, and I believe everybody's got a story of some kind. So whether they want to talk about it or not, kind of like Shelton and JT. So, but yeah, I think we all have some kind of tale or story to tell. So.
Old Anthony Ensign player, unidentified S4, is having an adult film star on that had a paranormal experience.
Beat me to it.
And all his thumbnails are just pictures of her. I'm like, that's the way to do it. He's getting all kinds of exposure.
I bet.
Of course, he's got a documentary coming out. He's done well for himself. I'm kind of following his model. He's got 10,000 followers on YouTube and is already making money off of it. So I'm like, yeah, it's there. Somebody can do it.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be easy, but
I'm doing it. I mean, I'm going. I've got to. I can't do.
I've had people that tell me that once you get to 5,000, that after that it just starts rolling. So when I get to 50, I'll be happy.
Now in my other channel, the food one, I got to 1,000 quick on it. I'm talking like 3 months.
Really?
Yeah, but this one just, I guess, I think I'm doing an algorithm. I'm changing the name of my podcast tomorrow, by the way. And I think once I niche down and start going like pinpointing the subject matter, I think it's gonna grow. Because right now it's just I look like some kid in his mom's basement. Bobby Dizzle. Who the fuck is that?
Yeah.
But when I change it to the picture of a Bigfoot with a cup of coffee, that's what's gonna bring them girls to the yard, baby.
I got a Bigfoot in mine. What are you talking about?
My Bigfoot brings all the girls to the yard, and they're like, "It's better than you."
Alrighty then.
Shelton's looking at you like you're crazy.
He is crazy.
Sheldon did just have a look on his face like,
Am I watching this human?
do we need to call someone?
Yeah.
That's tomorrow.
All right, hold on. I'll put it up here. Let me figure out how to do it. Let me hit the right button. I said share. What happened? Where'd it go? There we go. That is going to be. See, I have got the scoop on it, huh? That's going to be you.
The caffeinated cryptid with Bobby Dizzle.
You're kind of flexing in that a little bit there. So
yeah.
Now, is he facing forward or is that facing backwards? So we're looking at Bigfoot's butt, or are we looking at his?
It looks like that.
That's the mind's eye. You don't know which way he's looking. It's like that little ballerina that's spinning around. Which way?
Well,
I still don't like it.
What's wrong with it?
If there was a real Bigfoot, he would crush me. We talked about it.
He doesn't. He's scared that he'll get stepped on by Bigfoot.
I can see that.
It's like my 3-year-old. Bigfoot step on me.
I'm only 30 inches.
Me too, baby.
We're still talking. Never mind. Never mind.
Me too.
Oh, so anything interesting, new, and exciting in your world besides for the change, Bobby?
No, I have got kind of a little strategy. Every day I'll put up a YouTube short just to try to get my algorithm out there, and I think I need to. Kevin Stallings. I know him. He sits by me. And I don't know how long. Eventually, I'm going to get a YouTube short that's a banger. Here, I'm just putting up stuff that's mildly interesting. But for some reason, I'm getting like thousands of views. I've got a couple thousand views in a couple of days, and just no like one sub. It's like, what the hell are they doing with their life?
What about? So you don't think the shorts is better than being on TikTok?
I put them on TikTok too.
Okay.
I put the short on everything.
Just throw that shorty out there. All right.
Yep.
How about you, JT? Shelton, anything new and exciting in your world in the past few days?
Not really.
He didn't put me in the box.
You didn't have you in the box. Well, that's always good. You had your daughter for a while, so did your daughter get to play with Shelton any?
No, other than the only time she saw him was the other night when she came in here when we were doing the show, trying to touch his nose.
Yeah, that's why I don't like kids. They always want to touch me.
They're little germ breeders, let me warn you. So
That's better than always wanting to touch kids.
that is true.
Damn.
It's alternative.
That is true.
We didn't talk about tonight was that missing submarine.
Oh,
I guess it would have been pertinent.
Yeah. Well,
They're not
last I
found by the
saw.
morning. If they're not found by the morning, they're dead. If we don't wake up and they're found, they're dead.
It
kind of makes me sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and what a way to go, too.
I mean,
Suffocate.
that's weird. Like,
Yeah. Well, and you wonder if the president will pull out some special forces secret we got and send down and rescue him or something and not tell the world, but in the middle of the night. Well, our president's already asleep, so he's been asleep for.
Joe Biden's been shit his pants on with the bed.
Yeah, exactly. So he doesn't even know anybody's. He doesn't even know anybody's missing. So
He's gonna sleep for 6 solid hours right now.
Yeah, exactly. So
he hit the prune bar and went to bed. He doesn't shit his pants. It's like a 3-year-old.
Yep. So yeah, if they're waiting on the American president to come get him, I think they're kind of screwed.
Maybe Vlad can send something down there for him.
Well, they're off the coast of Nova Scotia. Is that right? So, or they suspect that's where they are.
Maybe Trudeau can put on some of his blackface and swim down there.
Yeah. Well, I've had it on and off during the day, and they were talking about, you know, at a certain point the mania may get to them, and you know, wonder if there's any type of internal camera they'll recover and show to the world later, you know. So
I hope they do find him, and I hope they go on Rogan, because that'd be amazing.
yeah. Well, and there was a guy actually on a news channel that said that he said, he goes, never give up hope. He goes, remember, we rescued back in like 1978 some miners in a coal mine that were supposed to have been dead 20 hours before we could get to them. And he said, and miraculously, they were alive. He said, so sometimes you don't know everything. So I was like, yeah, it's true.
True.
So I hope that they do. It would be a true hero story. And then, of course, we'll treat them all like heroes, even though they're millionaires. So
You know, just kind of sit in a minivan for 2 days.
it's going to smell really bad.
God. You know, they had to pee. They probably held their poop in, but they had to pee, definitely.
Yeah. Well, if we get so scared, they probably shit themselves. So that's a fascinating. That's a look into the medical field there. But yeah, unfortunately, get so scared that their body just loses control. So yeah, could be. But you hope not. But you know, Lord forbid that the family has to witness it. So
Either that or they're already dead.
yeah, I mean. Well, yeah, I mean, the hull could have crushed too, because there's always the thing where, you know, if it had one little minor crack in it, that the pressure could have caved it in, and that's why they lost communication. So
They're trying to say the banging noises, something banging off the Titanic.
Oh, is that what they're saying? I haven't heard that.
Some people are saying that it's a theory.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I actually haven't. I had the show with her earlier today. I haven't tuned in much today. I'm gonna probably flip on something here in a little bit and see, because
I've been just hitting refresh on the news channels.
I saw one of the news channels had a countdown timer showing how long they had of oxygen left. That's
a little stupid. It's a little sick.
So I figure I'll tune in there. They'll have the most update news. So it wasn't Fox. I want to say it might have been Newsmax, maybe. I don't know. I was flipping through them all. So, well, guys, JT, Shelton, you're so quiet tonight. I feel like you ain't got much on your mind.
No, I really don't.
I'm just wondering why he keeps disappearing.
Yeah,
well,
mine, I do. I keep disappearing back here.
That's the way you like it. You like to be in the background.
Yeah. Let Shelton be up there.
Like
I don't mind at all.
Shelton is the star. Well, we tried that with having you each having your own camera, so
yeah, that didn't work out too well.
No.
His camera wasn't working well.
Gotcha. Kevin says you look like the ghosts from Jedi's from Star Wars, fading in and out. Well, I guess, and we hope Brenda gets her personal stuff taken care of and can come back next week. So, but Bobby, I love having you on the show, man. You're welcome anytime on here.
It sharpens my
I'm
chops.
gonna find somebody special to come in Saturday.
Well, who are you talking about?
Don't worry about it right now.
Oh, he's gonna off you.
Oh God. Believe it. He's been looking around. Like, he didn't let me put him in this box the last time.
That's right.
Oh.
I'm never going back in that thing. I don't like it.
It's like a little coffin, isn't it?
Who knows? He might bury me in it.
Can't never tell. So, well, next week we're going to have a professional animal communicator. She's a published author, and she talks to animals. Leslie is her name. So she's been seen on the Animal Planet and several outdoor networks talking to animals. So Leslie Cicineri, I'm probably saying that wrong. No, she talks to angels. Angels, yeah. She talks to angels.
Never mentions the word addiction.
Wow, I didn't know you did karaoke.
I'm drunk.
So is that what's been in that Alabama Cup? Oh Lord. You've had a liter of vodka. All right, now I know how Bobby does the show. Kevin, how do you put up with this? So
He's codependent.
I need to. Well, I'm glad that I hope Kevin subscribes to my channel. Yeah, everybody, make sure to check out Bobby Dizzle soon. Are you gonna have a new www. something soon too, or?
So let's go behind the curtain here. I kind of planned this about a year ago, not knowing what would do. I wanted to have different shows, so I called my podcast the Bobby Dizzle Podcast Network.
Oh,
so it'll always be at bobbydizzle.com, but with different
gotcha.
drop downs. And I may make another domain that forwards to Bobby Dizzle, like the caffeinatedcryptid.com forwards to Bobby Dizzle. But I want to be like an agency, like a talent agency, a marketing firm. So Bobby Dizzle, the BDP Media Works. Bobby Dizzle Network. So,
it's kind of like me, where I always say this is a show of Nightlight Studio. So yeah,
it'll always be bobbydizzle.com.
Okay, cool. Well, check out bobbydizzle.com. Check out his YouTube channel. Go like, subscribe. Please hit the up button, like and subscribe here. If you want to come on the show, or you know someone who wants to come on the show, you can email us at paranormalguys@gmail.com. We're always looking for anybody that's got a story to tell. It doesn't have to be necessarily some cryptid creature or something that goes bump in the night. It could be just something you want to talk about. We'll have you on. We ain't scared. Next week, hopefully, we'll have Brenda back. Yeah, I'm a little scared. But next week, hopefully, we'll have Brenda back. And then tune in. Make sure to tune in Saturday night for we have the Sport Cat Misfits. Bobby, hopefully you will be on the Sport Cat Misfits.
Sheldon.
So hopefully you will be on the Misfits. We're going to start a Twitter poll every week with a question and see how the audience responds to that. So I just got that. Oh Lord. Yeah, so make sure to check us out on the Misfits. Saturdays at 9 for 2 hours. If you want to be a misfit and come on the show, jump in the chat, and hey, if we get Bobby too drunk and he passes out, we'll open up a spot and let you in. So he's just staring
Bobby,
at you.
Look into my eyes.
I can't stop.
This is the beginning of an 80s song. Look into
The
my
snake from Jungle
eyes.
Book over here.
Oh Lord.
I see you, Bobby.
Oh, too creepy.
They're just moving. Look at him move.
He's staring into your soul, Bobby. So
Yeah, they're blue. They're deep blue. It's like the snake from the Garden of Eden.
you know what? We're just gonna. Everybody, I appreciate your support in watching tonight. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, check out the Paranormal Guys group on Facebook, and come see us next week, same time, same bat channel. And until then, have a wonderful evening, and we will see you guys soon.
Good night.
Good night, guys. I don't know. I thought I hit everybody, but I guess I didn't. But we're going to fade away.